Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Micheletti Podcast. This is my second podcast of the day, but I'm going to keep up the energy because I got two great guests. We got the Gucci Bros on the podcast, Mr. Tom Hall and Mr. Jacob Davenport, and we got some great topics today. Now, I'm going to give you guys each 30 seconds. Give me a debrief. What's one big thing that's been on your mind that you want to share with the audience over the past couple weeks since I last had you guys on? 30 seconds per person.
Whew. Oh, man, I think it's getting towards the end of the year. I put out a lot of energy this year, and it's like kind of like finding a little extra gear in me that says I still got enough in the tank to finish the year strong. That's what I've been thinking about.
I like it. I saw a piece of content recently that kind of reiterated that same sentiment. It's
really?
Hey, a lot of people take their foot off the gas towards the end of the year, but the people that are really going to crush their goals are the people that push even harder. You might have just a little bit left in the tank, but who's going to use that little bit left?
Who's going to use it? And I've noticed in my business over the years is that I tend to find that little bit of extra energy when everyone else is going to sleep, and then it's like we get a deal done. You know,
Tom's the assassin.
I don't know about that. It's just knowing that if I push a little bit more, then it's like that's how you get better.
I like it. Jake, what about yourself? 30 seconds.
Man, I'm in a stage of my life and business where growth doesn't look like things you can count or spend or accumulate. Growth right now is I'm in a season of actualizing and realizing probably just wisdom and insight that people are telling me, and I'm being able to internalize it and create a value on the inside. You know? So
the growth is not like the plant. You're not seeing the leaves, but it's the roots being set.
The baboon. I mean, not the baboon. What do you call it?
The bamboo.
Bamboo.
The bamboo.
Bamboo tree. Correct. Like
exactly.
100%.
I like it.
Half of what you've ever said about like even multifamily, I was like, oh, I believe you because it's you. Now I'm like, every other day, I'm like, oh, that's why you said that.
That's why I said that. Yeah.
Oh, that's why you said that. So that the realization and the ability to hold the value of it is like, it's mind blowing. Right
so
now.
next phase will be transforming that
application.
Yeah. We're gonna get into that. Let's not jump ahead because we're gonna get deep into that stuff. But first question I want to pitch to you guys, and this one's for both of you. When you first started your businesses, what were some of the hardest adversities that you had to overcome? Let's bring it back a few years because you guys have both been in business for a while. Jake started his first business mowing lawns and he had his little lawnmower in the truck bed. Tom, I know that you pretty much jumped from accountant to multifamily. So what were some of the hardest adversities you guys had to overcome when you first started your businesses?
I mean, for me, it was everything seemed impossible. So, I mean, you're just, you know, every piece of the puzzle was unknown to me because you're just, you have an idea, you're going to go do something, but I've never done it at all. So, like, they're like, okay, I know how to do accounting, but I don't know how to, like, go file a loan application for a multifamily loan. Never done it. I don't know how to, underwrite a property. I don't, all this stuff. I didn't know how to do any of it, So I think the overwhelmingness of the unknown was probably the hardest thing because it kept me up at night. I just was afraid of every decision I was making because I didn't know if it was right.
So how'd you get through it?
Time and learning. I mean, but it wasn't a matter like, oh, all of a sudden I knew everything. It was just like, oh shit, I was right to be afraid about that. So then you file that one away. I think like what Jake's saying right now, he's doing it in a way that's a little bit more practiced and calculated. He's taking this information in. He's kind of learning by witnessing. I was having to learn by doing it. And so, like, imagine if Jake, instead of taking all this time to learn, I just gave him a property and be like, you got to buy this right now. He'll also learn all the shit he's learning. By fire. So, yeah, I was kind of stupid and I was young. I was like 25 years old or whatever. I just was like, I'm going to go do this, because I thought it sounded cool.
So do you feel like that ability to get thrown in the fire forged you a little bit, or would you go back and do it differently? Would you take a more practical, or sorry, not practical, but a more studious approach like Jake, or would you still just jump straight into it?
My personality is to jump straight into it. I did it again. I went and started the winery, and I was just like, I'll just figure it out. It's like I like to learn by doing. It's just I've learned over time that that's my favorite style of learning is just to jump in and just figure it out.
That's something that I continue to
But
learn
everyone's different.
as I talk to people. And that to that point, it's figuring out how you can put yourself in a position to succeed based on your personality, based on your energy, based on those natural attributes that you have.
Yeah.
So that's impressive that you were able to realize that.
But it's also impressive because how Jake's doing it, I don't have the patience. I'm very impatient. You know, so it's like if I sat around and kept studying, I'd be like, whatever, I've already learned enough. Let's just go.
You get bored.
I get bored. But I think it's impatience, which is not necessarily a great quality, but I just want to be doing stuff.
There's some people that have the ability to turn bad qualities and make the best out of them, where it's like you put yourself in shitty positions, but you just have that, Jake calls it the dog, right? You just have that dog to make a shitty situation into a somewhat good situation. People are like, how'd you do that? Oh, shit. It sounds like you have a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't like to fail. So if I get into a tough situation, I just try to figure out, like, I actually sometimes like being there because I'm like, how do I fix this? What do I got to do? What do I got to learn? What did I not know that got me here? And then it's really rewarding to, like, climb out of a bad situation. How do you fix it?
Just had a podcast with someone where they were saying that the reward is in the climb, not in the view.
Yeah.
When you're climbing that mountain, that's the real shit.
But this is not even like I'm trying to get to a mountain. Like I stepped into like, I stepped into a hole. Like how do I get out? Not like I'm just on a little walk on my journey. I'm not even getting anywhere. I'm just like doing my thing. And then all of a sudden something comes around the corner that you weren't expecting.
But you've still managed to build a really massive business with a lot of great employees. So super impressive, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I think that's super valuable for anybody out there that's looking to start their first business. Let's transition it over to Jake.
Let me dovetail into that. I think I'm very similar in my approach to dive right in. I think that when you look at like the hustler mentality, the grinder, the hustlers don't necessarily have a book of basics, right? What they have is massive action, tenacity, and a heart full of enough momentum that they may even be stupid enough to do the thing and then it work out, right? And so, I've been in that season many, many times in my life, but as I'm transitioning, maybe very far from hustle mode to more like entrepreneurial / try to see what that hybrid of a CEO looks like. I don't see a whole lot of difference in my approach to how I would want to achieve something. Like I'm in, right? Yeah. Like I don't give it much thought. Hey, Jake, you want to build a house? Win, right? And then later on, like I could have done this differently. It's just I think that if I'm being honest, I think if we're going to make a comparison between the two, right? I think I'm just a little more fortunate to have people that have done the thing, and so I don't know everything. But I know that the things that I'm doing are massive for me, right? Or massive for the average person. And I started off doing a lot of even flipping in real estate on my own as a hustler. And you can always have extracted more or been happier when you've done it or made less mistakes. And so I have so much value in not having to do it my natural way of jumping all in. There are some people around me that have made every mistake, but not only made every mistake, and you can like see the mistakes or read a book about like Elon Musk and his mistake. I'm probably just more fortunate that the people that are around me right now not only made the mistakes and had the successes, but they're telling me like you want the answer?
I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to bring this up, but you just pivoted perfectly into it. I watched a video recently, and the name of the video was Keys to Selling, trying to just improve my skill set overall as a business owner. And it was a video by Andrew Tate, which was interesting. But he didn't go the normal approach of like, here's 5 practical tips on how to sell. Instead, he dovetailed it more into, here's just how to succeed in business in general. Here's how to start from zero. And one of the keys that he said was one of the number one reasons why people fail is because they're arrogant. They are told by someone who's achieved success, this is what you need to do, step 1, 2, 3. And then they say, no thanks. That's not for me. It's not going to work. No, nah, I can't do that. I have a better way.
I've heard that many times.
And that's something that kind of what I'm hearing from you, you're doing the opposite now, where it's like, look, you have someone that has built a super successful business in multifamily. You have a team with me and my business, and now you're deciding to take the studious approach, learn from people that have done the thing, and legitimately take the advice instead of being an arrogant person and being like, nah, I got my own way to do it.
I mean, he doesn't have to be as humble as he is. He's already successful. So it's rewarding. A lot of times the people that I do mentorship with are very young, inexperienced, and so it's nice because I feel like with him it's like more like, peer to peer, and he just wants to just do the industry that I'm doing. Like if I was like, hey Jake, I'm gonna start flipping houses, I would go be sitting under him like, what do I do? Like, it'd be the same way. I would listen to everything he would have to say. So it's nice to have the conversation with someone that I know is successful. I know is a dog. I know it has all that stuff in him, but he's like sitting back and just taking the time. And I hope that when he goes out, like he's just going to go out and just kill it because he took the little bit of, wisdom that's being passed to him. And
how does it also feel to know that he actually listens to you? Would you continue to give advice to someone that you didn't feel like is listening, or does that?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would not at all. I mean, we only have so much time, right, in our lives, and so it's like, why waste your time trying to coach someone that doesn't want to be coached?
And I think that's a key for the audience because, and I'm breaking the fourth wall here. I think that's key for the audience because when you're a young professional or entrepreneur, let's say that you're not an entrepreneur, but you're a young professional and you're blessed to be able to get a job with somebody who's built something incredible. Let's say they're the CEO and you can directly mentor underneath them. Coaches want to coach to the people that want to be coached.
Yep.
Coaches want to coach to the people that want to be coached. Are you coachable? Are you willing to take the feedback even when it sucks a little bit? And I'm someone that struggles to take some critical feedback of, hey, Trey, you're doing X, Y, and Z wrong. And that's hurt me in a lot of different ways. But now I'm starting to, I know that I'm getting better at receiving that critical feedback and actually implementing it because it's something that Jake says sometimes you got to get your nuts crushed in the wall or in the door. And, to a certain extent, I feel like I've got my nuts crushed in the door.
You better pay attention.
So don't get your nuts crushed in the door. Listen to your mentors, listen to them, and genuinely put it into practice because that will make it more likely for them to continue to coach you along your journey is what it sounds like.
Yeah, well, Jake, like I imagine like in your position doing a lot of stuff you're doing, you get a lot of inbound people saying like, teach me how to do what you do, teach me how to do what you do.
A lot.
Right, a lot. And so, like, how many of them, as soon as you start saying, they're like, but that seems like a lot of work. I have to do all that? Like, they don't want to actually take the steps, which are the steps to success. Because you've done it so many times. I mean, what percentage of people actually really, or not percentage, but do you find that people really are willing to listen and apply?
Very few.
Hold up, Caitlin, can you go get Jake's podium real quick so we can give him a stage? Yeah, this is about to be long. I like this one. We've had this conversation many a time.
But I love this conversation because I get asked like by my kids' friends for like mentorship help or like somebody at work. It's not, I don't have like, 50,000 people that are looking at me or doing things where I if they were asking all the time, it must be like very difficult for you to even start the process knowing how many times it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I would say that happens a lot, probably too much than I would want it to happen.
Right.
Most of the time, more than most.
Does it disappoint you?
It used to disappoint me, but it really, where the season I'm in right now is like I think that mentor-mentee relationships are important, right? And I think that how they're compatible, how they work is important. And every once in a while, like they really work out. Phil Jackson and I'm like Kobe, But I think
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael Jordan for sure. You get the right combination. I look back at when we were talking about getting your nuts slammed in the door. You go through these very vulnerable times. I over the last year and a half, just transparently, I've been just struggling through a lot of different things, right? Mm-hmm. And really trying to see the next move. This is the next move, right? What is it? None of it has to do with the money. It's where am I going next, right? The destination. And I think about one of the things that stick out to me most is this. You have to find out what your rule book is or what you believe in. So for me, respect is a big word. I'm always about respect. I respect people's house. I respect their wife. I respect their kids. That's big for me, right?
It's a great rule.
I think so, right? And
everyone in society had that rule, this would be a very harmonious place.
I would agree. I would agree. And that for me, that is like part of my rule book, right? That's one of what I believe should be in your character. But beyond me, not about me so much about what we're talking about in mentorships. I remember early on, Trey kind of told me a little bit about you. I was like, okay, cool. And I never thought it was anything because I'm really focused on what I'm trying to do. I'm so busy, right? And I remember we happened to be out at just a location eating some food. And one of the things I complimented, I was like, man, Tom wears a lot of shirts I need to take out of his closet. I like to style. That was the first thing I said, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. And
He doesn't say that about a lot of people too, so take that as a compliment.
For
Big
sure.
one.
I just noticed, and then one time
I dressed up for Jake today.
Oh man, I appreciate you looking fly.
I don't doubt it either. He's wearing Hugo Boss.
He does it. Listen, he has. I love his style. I love his style, right?
Yeah.
I remember one time he had this jacket, and I'm like, "There's no way that's a Ted Baker jacket." And sure enough, I said, man, "That's crazy, right?" This guy, I enjoy. I mirror his style, but that's less about the material things. I remember we were all eating one time. You probably had stepped away for a second. But there was several people at the table, and I remember this one guy was like, yeah, man, I got an apartment, man, I got a house, I got this, he's just talking, and it's okay, right? And I remember, because I just happened to have shared a couple conversations with you about some things you were working on immediately, and you were so graceful. You were so graceful. You said, yeah, no, that's really cool. It's really cool, and you never popped the bubble for the least bit, and you continue.
What would be the point?
True. Because you were demonstrating grace, respect.
That's all it is. I mean, who knows what he went through to get like where he was at in life, right? I mean, what did I just hear? This actually, it was funny. I was running today, but I was on the treadmill, and it was, Jess Sims, shout out Peloton. But she said you could be sitting right next to a person doing the exact same thing, that have achieved the exact same thing, but what's going on in their mind and what happened, what it took to get there is going to be completely different. So you could say, oh yeah, Tom and Jake, they're both successful, whatever, they're the same, they think the same, they do the same things. It's not true at all. And so like when someone tells me their success story and they're proud of it, the thing I go to is like, wow, they're proud of what they did. What did they take to get there?
Yeah,
it's an amazing. I'm sure that who knows what kind of struggles and trials and tribulations he went through to get his first house, right? So it's like to me, I bet you there's I could just tell when someone's like really proud. He wasn't bragging. I mean, if someone's now like, oh, I got this car and this car, then I might say like, oh, cool, I got this car too, But not in that situation where he was very proud of.
Definitely, it's not about an individual. Really, it was more about you, because for me, I take it a step further, because you're right. We're all on this journey, different journeys, right? But when I look at mentor relationships, for me, the way I learn, what's important to me, and respect, right, and authenticity. The thing is that was an example of giving somebody a space to grow and be in the building, regardless of who you think you are or who you think you are. And we were just talking about this last week. In my experiences of mentorship, I've been sold in and sold out to anybody that I've worked underneath. And I look at the leadership qualities that have always become an issue. And every time I've been in a position where I think I was a 5-star mentee, because I understand to be a great leader, you got to be a great follower.
Yeah.
I'm willing to take it to the end of the earth, right? And the challenge I continue to have, and I've learned as I continue to mentor now, is that when you're mentoring somebody and they're growing in it, you have to be willing to understand that one day I'll even step to the side and I will do everything to push them up.
Yep.
Right? But what happens is, when I look at a lot of, and I don't want to be better or less anybody else, I just want to be me, right? When I sense relationships of mentors right now in the places that I'm in, I always can smell this thing now of a person, they'll let you do something, but you can't be better than me.
Oh.
And I can smell it, and I don't respect it. So when I saw that example and a few other examples,
which is kind of like that natural, like, I'll teach you a little bit, but I'm still the big dog around here.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly why that first rule is in 48 Laws of Power.
What's that?
Never outshine the master.
But this
never
it's not
outshine
about
the master.
It's never for me. It's not about outshining. What I'm saying is that when you have mentee relationships,
It's a
these
little
things.
Machiavelli-ish.
It is.
Machiavellianism and 48 Laws of Power have a lot.
I've never read 48 Laws of Power. Do you think it's worth reading?
I personally, I don't love it. I'm not about.
I don't really like laws of power.
They
manipulation.
See, different people take it different ways. I read something about this. Some people take it as like, all right, he's writing this book so I can go manipulate people. Other people take it as he's writing this book so I can avoid being manipulated. So it's just all up to your perspective. But
The anthology,
I saw something
different stories.
I saw something that said that it's actually banned in some prisons because they don't want people reading it and putting it into practice in malicious ways.
Crazy.
I don't know about. I mean, probably in other countries. I don't know.
No, in the U.S.
Yeah.
What do you got in those note cards over there, Trey?
Not in
I got a lot of freaking questions.
Yeah.
Did you just write these down right now?
You know, I have a lot of shit in my head, believe it or not.
Yeah, because you asked us the 30 seconds. You
want me to give my 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Past 2 weeks has been a blur, in a lot of good ways and some hard ways. I feel.
What has been challenging to you?
I have
Say it.
See, this is where it's like I struggle. I struggle getting vulnerable sometimes because
Be vulnerable.
I've struggled with this battle of ego, arrogance, and confidence. Where sometimes I'll walk in and some people say I'm confident, others will call me arrogant and egotistical, and I've been struggling with understanding what I really am and trying to be a little bit introspective on that because I've tried to build my business as an individualist.
Do you think you know better than everyone?
I don't think I know better than everybody.
Do you think you act like that?
I think that it can be perceived that way. I don't try to, though, and that's the hard part. Because
I think, I mean, between you and me, you have come across a little arrogant to me a few times.
Okay.
When I said, "Oh, I think we should," no, that's not how we do it.
Gotcha.
When it's like, okay, well, what I would say as a client, you should always take into what the person's saying and not immediately shut it down.
Yeah.
And then maybe let the time.
Let them be wrong.
Let them be
Or
wrong.
right.
Yeah.
Let them be wrong or right. And it didn't take me apart. I just was, man, this dude's really confident about what he's doing. That's how I took it. But, I mean, I could see another person taking it as like, wow, that's,
And that's the hard part.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with it, by the way. I think partly who you are. It's like you're very confident.
At the same time, though, and this is where I have to reflect on where I am in my journey, where you always bring me back and you give me perspective on patience. And I always appreciate that about you and our relationship because you're someone that's very grounded and has achieved a lot of success. So you actually shifted my whole frame on how to achieve success. And that's something I'm really thankful to you for. Because every time that I've heard from anyone that's successful, it's all about work 16 hours a day, work 12 hours a day. You've got to go now. The only person I've heard that's ever said anything differently than that is Gary Vee. So seeing someone in real time and you're very grounded, you spend a lot of time with your family and do those things, that was really, that was amazing for me personally. But what I'm trying to analyze is, okay, you're not where you expected to be after 2 years of running your business. Why is that? And
you're not where you expected to be.
I'm not where I expected to be to a certain extent.
Okay.
So I have to go back and analyze it and be like, why is it? And there's a lot of moves that I've made that where I've heard something and I've, coming back down to that arrogance piece that I talked about earlier, I've thought that my way was better. And even in the example that you just talked about, even though I'm bullish on my belief systems, I can do that. Exactly what you just said in so many different contexts of, nah,
Yeah.
my way's better. I'm going to do it my way, even if I had the data to back it up. So it's
it's pretty impressive for someone that's just getting started to have that level of confidence, but it's also, you have to understand, like, as you were talking about selling, and learning that, like, I would say as a sales technique, that's not a good one because that can definitely just push a potential client off. Like maybe, they have an ego themselves.
Yeah.
And, they're like, well, actually I have some experience doing this or this. And so you're saying, hey, you want to go work with businesses and you want to become a partner with theirs. The best thing you could do to be as a good partner is to listen.
Yeah.
And to not, what you're trying to do is you want to be an expert in your field, but you're young and so you don't have the track record. So you feel like you have to be the smartest to get the validation.
Who gave you the book of my life?
I've lived the book of your life. I was the youngest person in my business. I used to go, when I was 25 years old, I would go into rooms with like 50-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I had to be too smart, to prove myself, So I would just, no, trust me on this. I did the same thing as you. And I realized I put a lot of people off because I didn't listen to their wisdom. All I wanted to do was like show them how smart I was, because I was, but I also needed to be humble at that point.
And that's what I think I'm starting to learn right now. It's not that I'm
Well, you learned it faster
It's
than I
not
did.
that I'm not smart.
Yeah,
It's not that I'm not smart. I do know what I'm
You are
talking
smart.
about, but there's also a time and a place to let things take their natural course. Like what you said, because your thing was you didn't want to post every single day. And I'm bullish on we should be posting 3 to 4 fucking times a day, which is totally different, right? So instead of allowing it to play out through its natural course and make you feel heard, I said immediately no. But I've done that with so many other things. And that can make it an unsafe environment for people that I work with to feel like they can bring their opinions to the table and bring their ideas. And that's not something that I want. So I've been struggling with that in both business and even my personal relationship with my girlfriend, because I don't want to come across that as that arrogant guy. I want to come across as confident in what I want to achieve in myself without the arrogance. So it's something that I'm trying to take a step back on, maintain more patience, listen to what people have to say, and actually fucking follow through with it and see what happens. Because I'm 22 years old. I don't know shit. I know shit, but I don't know shit.
But you
know
do
what I mean?
exude confidence, which is great at your age. And I think you don't need to do extra. I think you don't need, if someone disagrees with, one thing that you say, it's not worth proving to be right on every point.
Choosing your battles.
And
And that's the other thing that I'm learning as well. So, no, I'd say I don't want to take up too much time, but my whole thing is just a hell of a lot of learning right now. And it's fucking hurts sometimes, because it's like there's so much, it feels like there's so much at stake, but then when you put it into perspective, there's also so little at stake. So it's an interesting thing I'm learning right now.
that's important. So much at stake, but also so little. Mm-hmm. And it's like, don't over magnify the issue. And it's like, okay, whatever. We all make mistakes. We're humans, So,
there's something to be said. Like, I just believe. I'll use the example earlier. Your ability to leave a space in which somebody can feel like they can grow, and it's not so much like you stay here. It's safe, right? Mm-hmm. And when I have seen that behavior, my mentors have been men, right? So I have some great women too, but mostly men, right? For obviously reasons, but when I look at like defining a man, so much of your mentorship, if you have somebody older than you that's a male, is part of being a man, right? Because when you conduct your the things that you have been through as a older man, I just can't know, right? And it's such a good space. And so for you to ask the question, for you to vulnerably be taking a self-audit of yourself and analyzing it and now getting insight from people that you know, like, and trust, it shows up how much of a man you're desiring to be. And they define man off this and that and this and that. That's just not how I play the game, right? I think that when I'm looking at trying to be a better man so I can be a better person to the people around me, a leader, right, a protector, things of that nature.
But being vulnerable is key. Is key to learning, key to growing, to becoming a better leader, to understand, all that stuff. So I think you hit it like, I feel it's hard for me to be vulnerable. But then you do it, and then you have a real conversation, and then it's like you realize being vulnerable is not a bad thing. It's just like, but I think as a lot like masculinity, you're like taught not to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
100%. And when and so that space, the ability to lean into your vulnerability with, I think, like I say, somebody that you admire, right? It gives you the confirmation so you don't go back out there and potentially make the same decision, poor decision, or whatever the decision was based on the situation at hand, right?
Some ones that I admire, by the way. You got to point to yourself too.
Right back at you. But I just think that that's really when I look at mentorship. When we talk about real estate, we talk about all those things. So much of it goes right back to like just being a man about everything. I was in the hallway the other day in the bathroom, and these gals came downstairs, and they was like, "Wait, we know you. Your name's Jacob." I'm like, "Girl, you don't even know. I never met you before, right?"
But you're famous though,
right? She was like, "Yeah, you and Tom and Trey do a lot of videos."
Courtesy of Micheletti Media.
Yeah, for sure. She was like,
Courtesy.
"You and Tom and Jay, you got a lot of videos. We love your videos. We love your topics, right?" And so it's not the starstruck thing with me. It's like, somebody respects some other two people that they know enough to think that I might be guilty by association. So if they respect them and the way they're speaking to me, they have a lot of respect for me, and they don't even know me. And it goes back to conducting yourself and learning and being vulnerable, being with the right people, with the right conversation, around the right people that can help guide you. So much of it's not about money or much about business. Because when you're a man about everything you do in business, in church, in music, and on the airplane, when you're a man about it, you grow regardless.
Family man.
family man, when you're a man. But see, when you get into these spaces like business, and you're not a man about it, when you go home to your family and you're not a man about it, everything else you'll lose it. You'll have a run, but everything is always tied. And I'm just speaking to us because we're happy to be in, right? Everything's tied to it. And so
You may not feel it right this second, but just because you don't feel it this second doesn't mean that it's not coming back.
Oh, it's
to you at some
coming.
point.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Well, I love this train of thought. I know that we have that we don't have all day, even though we could talk all day, I'm sure, about a multitude of different topics. But I want to keep us moving into some good stuff for the audience here, and I hope that you guys gain some value from that. This is going to be an interesting one. This one is more directed towards Tom.
All right.
Jake's transitioning into multifamily. Mm-hmm. My business is transitioning into what you briefly mentioned about the equity and profit share model with businesses. What advice would you give to both us and other people as they're taking the next step / transition into their business that they think is going to be that kind of next level?
I mean, make sure your transition is well thought out. Like, don't think that the transition is going to be the answer to everything. Mm-hmm. Sometimes what you were doing before, maybe you just needed a small tweak, and you could go through this whole big transition, and then you could go 2-3 years down the road and be like, why did I do that? Like, this was actually better. And so don't always just assume that because there's certain things that you don't like about what you're doing currently, that there aren't going to be the same certain things that you're going to dislike about the new thing you're doing.
Or a worse set of problems.
So I think that's, for me, like, I've gone through a few transitions in my company, and sometimes I was very unhappy with the transitions, even though I was like, give me those old problems back. Like, this is like, I don't want to be dealing with this crap right now. And so, I mean, but I've also gone through transitions that have been like amazingly, successful. So it's just, don't just expect it to be like, just like, oh, over here everything's perfect. Once I do this, I'm not gonna have any problems. My business is gonna be running smoother. I'm gonna achieve all my goals. It's not gonna be like that. It's gonna be, things might start popping differently, and then you'll probably transition that plan a little bit. But I think the biggest thing is what I just said first is, like, don't expect it to be like the panacea.
So when you're planning for a transition, do you have like a specific framework? You mentioned the problem framework, where maybe it's thinking about, I transition.
I'm doing a transition right now. Sense. I'm in the middle of it.
Okay.
Rebranding the company, trying to basically expand our visibility and scope to a different audience, which an audience I've not been able to have really great success with. And this transition started, a while ago when I brought on a new partner that has a lot of experience within, this market I'm trying to get into, and then just basically slowly turning the whole company in from how we used to run it before, which was very like kind of small business, family orientated, to a little bit, more polished, a little bit more. And I realized that it was all the small things that doing internally that were more kind of how this market I'm trying to get into expects, so that if they ever came in and, wanted to like talk to my employees or do diligence on me, that I would have all these processes and procedures in place. So I did all that for, a couple of years before I even changed the logo, before I even changed the name.
So this is a long tail transition.
Yeah, it's a big transition. But I realized that you can't just change the logo, because we're not any different, right? So it's like, all right, first let's really change how we act, how we present ourselves, how we operate in the market, and then people will see the difference. Mm-hmm. And then you change the name, and they're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's learning from doing it before that, where I'm like, oh, we're just going to change this right here.
Did you have a failed transition in the past?
I mean, I wouldn't call it necessarily failed. But
you've also invested in businesses. So do some businesses that you've invested in or know about have had failed transitions?
Oh, yeah. I mean, businesses, fail all the time. I mean, and failed transitions could be like, I didn't like this employee, so I'm going to go get this employee that has this other skill set. And then all of a sudden you're like, shit, I like the other skill set was more important. So I think, you have to take everything like with a wider lens and not just try to figure that if I change this one thing, it's going to fix everything. it's going to open up other set of problems because there is no one fix to everything. So if you're changing your revenue model, be prepared for a much different, experience that where, maybe, you're gonna have to start thinking about how your partnership agreements are written up, how you manage the books of those partnership agreements to make sure that, there's not people that are taking advantage of, if they're in control. Like, let's say I own 90% of the business and you had a 10% ownership for your piece, but I have all the votes and I have all the control. I set the budgets, and it's like, well, Trey, we made a lot of money, but I had to pay myself a little bit more this year, so there's nothing left for you. There's a lot of ways you can get kind of screwed over in that thing. So just kind of maybe taking a little bit more time to understand what it is that you're jumping into and how that actually looks, and find someone that's successfully done it and structured it the right way. So getting good attorneys, stuff like that.
Coming back down to the arrogance piece as well, like understanding.
Right, you're like, I'm just going to make this business transition. I'm over here listening to Trey like, this dude doesn't even know what he's getting into. Like,
yeah.
Let me in. Let me in. Because see, that's
big dog.
Listen. I started this conversation just like kind of listening and telling you guys my 30 seconds, right, about the things I'm working on and the growth that I'm going through. And then we did a podcast a couple of months back, and I kept saying this quote of clarity shows charity.
Yeah.
Clarity shows charity.
I literally had dreams about that. You said it so many times. I was like, oh, shit.
Hold up.
Wait.
Ryan, did he not tell you that too? Did Jake tell you clarity shows charity?
No, but then I kept
thought he
thinking
did.
about it, and actually I wrote it down so I could see the words, and I was like really breaking it down. Clarity shows charity. I was like, I've heard all the sayings. It's like Jake was in his bag that day. He's like came out with a brand new saying.
How many times he has said that since then? Every conversation.
But he never said it before, so it wasn't like his go-to. But it was that day.
It was that day.
Clarity shows
Hold
charity.
Deal Mastery 201 sweatshirts. Clarity shows charity on the back.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the saying right there.
Go.
Let's do it.
Let's,
So
I love clarity shows charity.
I found myself a little frustrated, not with you guys, but with my process that day, because at the time I'm going through it, trying to solve it, going through it, and oh man, you're hitting it. Let me get into it. So when I look at the process that I'm in right now, and I'm absorbing the information, none of it has anything to do with money or another flip or another or a multifamily, because I have clarity, a little bit more clarity now that I did not understand.
And that's showing charity.
That's showing charity, definitely. But
who are we showing charity to?
If you get clarity for yourself, you will be more profitable. You give yourself some charity. But
Yes.
but by as the leader, if you give yourself charity, then you can provide for others as well. But
Yeah.
the more clarity you have, the more abundant you'll be. It just happens to rhyme.
Clarity
right?
is important.
And I did not understand what was even going on at the time. I was just physically showing up, right? But when I talk about where I'm at now, and I'm really valuing the things that I'm being taught and learning, and okay, let me see you, Trey. Okay, let me see you, Tom. I don't need to go do a baptism by fire. I can get the answers now, and I'm very, very fortunate, probably more fortunate than you guys were on your journeys, because was somebody going to tell you the truth? Were they going to gatekeep you? Were they going to be your fan and say, go, Jacob, go? Sometimes they're not, right? And so that's where I'm at, and I understand it. And so the more clarity I have gotten, the more I welcome those components. And then I just dovetail into what you were just talking about as you make small tweaks or transitions in your business, just be prepared, right? Because I hear the term, like, there's businesses that are like startups. But a lot of what you're doing within your business right now can be defined like the startup of a new chapter.
Yeah.
And I did not understand how to gasp or gather or touch the word startup, because I'm like, I don't work in Silicon Valley. I'm not a startup, right? I'm a flipper, right? I'm an investor. But
we should look up what the definition of startup is.
Well, there's the definition by book, and there's the definition of what you hear on the media, you hear on the news all the time. You see startup, you think of Silicon Valley. Well, for me, right? But our businesses are startups, and if I understood I am a startup, I was a startup. I mean, the startup hurts. The startup has a lot of failures, and the startup doesn't mean that in 2 months or 3 months you're going to have any clarity or you're going to have any wins. So if somebody had told me, listen, you're going to start this, don't worry about a year and a half before anything starts making sense, I probably would have thought differently. But month 2, I'm like, well, shoot, I don't have 20 billion.
Yeah.
And everything is on fire. Because
It felt that way.
It felt that way.
You thought it was just going to be like, boom.
You thought you were gonna have 20 billion by now?
No, I
No, it's 20 billion.
20 billion. No, I didn't think
Go
I was
B
gonna.
on that bitch.
I'll tell you this. Let's be clear. B. It's not that I thought I was going to be this further, because you said you thought you'd be this further along in 2 years in your business. I didn't think that I was going to be here. I did not know it was going to be ouch, fuck, ouch. Man, I don't want to do this. Ouch. I did not know.
The stove is hot.
I didn't know. And I'm like, 10 days in a row, every phone call I get, something's on fire. Everything I do might be, and now you start doubting yourself.
But you didn't even, but this is all just in the learning process, or this is for your old business?
This is my new business.
The new business.
Yes.
But ouch, you shouldn't been hurting yourself.
When you say new business, are you talking about multifamily, or are you talking about?
I'm talking about multifamily. I'm talking about.
You're talking about, instead of flipping, you're talking about doing longer term holds.
Not just that, because I mean, a lot of my time is dedicated to my real estate community.
Provide some clarity,
right?
so we can have
Got
some
you.
charity.
Yeah, please. Because when you're saying ouch, I actually would like a little context on that, because
Got
I
you.
didn't know you were putting yourself into
Okay,
positions you can get hurt.
I got you.
I
So
thought you were just still kind of.
He thought you were hitting the books.
No,
I thought you were hitting the books like I told you to.
No,
I didn't know you were
I'm
getting
hitting-
hurt.
I'm hitting them, but
You got to call me next time you're getting hurt, because that's what I'm here for.
got
Tom's
you.
bringing out. Tom's
I
bringing
got
out
you.
the what would the tire iron?
One
What
day,
was
Yeah,
it?
one day I was getting hurt. I
Don't
FaceTimed
fuck
you
with
'cause
Jake, man.
I thought you was in.
I'll be there.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Likewise, I thought you were taking off to Hawaii. You was taking off the next day.
I was right. Yeah.
I was FaceTime you. I would have told you that I was getting ouch, right? But I had to call somebody. I called Tom, but you was like packing, right? And then I called Trey as well. But when I'm saying the ouch is this. From the time we had dinner, the time we were talking about the multifamily,
Yep.
right? That was like the week of that I had left the previous company I had dedicated all of my real estate career to.
See, I didn't
Right.
catch that piece.
Right.
That
was
you
like,
left.
That was the week of.
That was the week.
Right?
It was a huge transition, a great transition, because it
Yeah.
was a super unbelievably toxic environment. But
Yeah.
So that's already going to be a big transition, and then at the same time, it's like now you're going to reposition the entire thing that you've been doing. So you didn't just leave the business and go, now I'm going to go flip houses on my own,
Yeah.
or be a real estate agent on my own, or whatever it was. You're like, now I'm also going to like level up my investment game and try to do something different
And a growing community.
and grow a community.
And see that's why
You're getting pulled in a lot
let
of
me add
ways.
one more piece of context. See, during that transition, the biggest thing, and just transparently, the biggest thing was my mentor broke my heart. Oh my gosh.
There's the ouch.
My mentor violated me. My mentor didn't get my back. My mentor went against everything that he ever said he stood on with me.
Because you left?
No, that's why I left.
Oh, that's why you left.
That's why I left. And so that was a heartbreak for me, because this is somebody I just cared
Talk on
about.
the mic so
man.
people can hear what you're saying.
I cared about, I believed in so many things.
So this mentorship thing
Mm-hmm.
for you is deep.
yeah, and I think it should be for, I mean.
No.
Yeah.
It is for a lot of successful people I know, but then there's a lot of people I know that don't have it. You know, they don't take the time to seek it out. But what I'm saying is you were in an empty space where
For sure.
this person had pulled you to where you were
Right.
from where you were before.
Right. 100%.
I think that this goes back to that line that I dropped for you, Tom. First rule in 48 Laws of Power: never outshine the master. And this was a perfect example of what can happen when you outshine a master that has a little bit of an ego, that has a little bit of that doesn't want to be outshone.
And I want to be careful on outshine. My biggest attribute is to be the best follower and somebody can depend on, which is probably why I get afforded the opportunity to get mentored and have a relationship with a lot of people, because I'm trusted and I'm respectful, right?
Publicly shower this mentor with flowers?
100 times.
Yes.
100 times.
I
that,
thought he was, dude. I thought this guy was like the king of the hill.
we're giving that too much attention, right?
I'm just more curious because you said ouch, ouch, ouch.
Oh man!
But this is more. I now understand where you're coming from. That's a very challenging environment to learn anything in, because you're emotionally wounded. You are now making decisions, out of some raw emotion to try to maybe prove something, right? So you're like, all right, well, no one's gonna have my back. Now
No. Even when I didn't have my back, I still stay solid. Even when I
That's impressive because that's usually when I go scrambling.
I'm to
If
the core.
I feel like I have something to prove.
No, I'm to the core.
That's where me and you probably align more.
I'm to the core.
Dude, sometimes people, when they doubt, I literally think to myself, I'm gonna light the fucking world on fire. Fuck these guys.
Each his own. See the thing, and that's why you have to know what's important. Respect.
Yeah.
For me, I'm all in. But that's nor here nor there because I don't want to give that too much attention because that doesn't do anything for anybody. I think what I want to drive it to is that at that time, when I look at respect, like for me, one of the examples was I was heavily disrespected, and my broker chose to not speak up. Like it doesn't make a difference.
Doesn't matter.
Right?
Yeah, I get it.
And so it goes back to defining yourself as a leader and as a man, and are you doing what's in the best interest of your pocket, or are you doing what's in the best interest of you as a man and your responsibilities, your commitments, and always understand that when I take on the responsibility to lead a community, they are expecting me not to go behind their back and beat them out of a deal because I have access to capital.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't do that. And so when I look at that day we were having dinner and I look at the term respect and how you treated other people, I could not help. What it really did is it made my previous mentor look like shit.
In your eyes at that moment.
Yeah. I think in anybody's eyes, if you're comparing apples to apples, meaning that, hey, that's not absolving any of us from any responsibility, things like that. But what I'm saying is those are some of the things that.
Well, the next time you're going through something, you got to text me. Hey, brother, I need an ear.
You did everything for me because I said, aha.
That was before you guys were like.
Yeah.
We were still chatting. No, because I called.
Have you guys already met before? Because that was the party that we had for the grand opening.
But I had. It was after that. I was down in L.A. and I called you. Remember? Because I asked you some questions at the basketball game, and I was asking you. I was talking about actually mentoring, right? And part of the reasons that I wanted to even come out on social media and start talking about my life and talk about my experiences is because I love mentoring, and I felt like it was a great way to give more people like access to my life story, I've gone through.
I've gotten text messages from people I didn't know who had my phone number saying, "Dude, what you're doing with Tom's content, it gets into his business brain. We love it."
Yeah. So I called Jake and I said, "Is it better for me just to spend my time to mentor you, Jake, and you, Trey, because I like both you guys, I respect you, or should I continue to do this?" And he was like, "No, brother, you have to share what you got to the world because you can touch many more people with the lessons." And because I was ready to shut it down, actually, I was like, it's more comfortable for me to just coach you guys 101. I don't like being on the camera. I don't like, I feel uncomfortable. Like, to be honest, being vulnerable. Like, some days I'm just like, man, I didn't like how I looked right there. Like, I sounded stupid. It didn't come across the right way. I don't feel confident in myself, and so it was just like, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
As much as I thought I enjoy getting the message out, I didn't like the way it made me. Sometimes I hate my voice. Like, I'm like, I sound stupid, It's just so. I don't know if anyone else.
Can I jump on something real quick?
Yeah.
This is something that this is my space, right? So I think a hell of a lot about it. And something that really impacted me, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and this was at our old office. And I just couldn't sleep. I was feeling like shit, actually. I just felt like a lack of motivation. And so I went on YouTube and I was looking. I didn't know what I was looking for, but on there was this video of Elon Musk launching, and he was doing a presentation for SpaceX. And that presentation, it hit with me so hard because he was talking about all the rockets they've launched. I don't know if you guys know this, but out of all the rockets launched in the world, SpaceX has launched 90%.
Wow.
90% of the rockets in the entire world that were launched last year was SpaceX. To own 90% market share in anything is fucking insane. But this is rockets we're talking about, right? So unbelievably inspiring. And then he started talking about keeping the light of human consciousness alive, because we have only been here for 7,000 years civilization started 7,000 years ago based on the first writing. And
we're trying to end it every day.
I mean, seriously, but the world has been around for billions, right? So how can you keep human consciousness going for as long as possible? And that got me thinking about legacy. How can we impact the future generations and continue to build? And we're in such a digital age right now. We're in an age where it's never been more accessible to pass on the knowledge that we have now to our generations 100 and 200 years from now. Never before.
Because before it was sit down, write a book, it was like make music.
And even that gets lost so easily. But now we can record content for hours. So Tom, for you, like what excites me is all this content you recorded, whether you stop today or you go for the next 20 years,
there forever.
Your grandkids, your great-grandkids, when you're old and you're sitting there, they're going to be able to go watch you in your mid-40s building this big-ass business and hear your fucking voice and be like, that's great-grandpa Tom. He's the one that accomplished this. And that's just going to help your generation and your bloodline build and build and build something so massive, because money drains. Knowledge stays. And knowledge is everything. That's how we can continue to build. So that is what excites me about content. That's what I do. How can we pass down this knowledge to the future generations so we can build a better society way past when we're gone? If we continue to build and we do new things and we pass that knowledge on, the sky's the limit, in my opinion. It's about legacy.
That was the hot take of the day.
Hey,
what you just said resonated with me. Like, I think I told a friend, like, this is the way I'll write my book on business or in my life, because it's easy. I'm just sitting here talking, and I thought I was going to run out of things to talk about, and it's like life keeps happening, right? And so,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. This life thing keeps throwing things at us.
Yeah. No, because you have your stories, right? But then it's like, well, shit. No, there's more things. There's more experiences, and the deeper you go into your mind, you find like new things that pop in, and so. I want to go back to multifamily though with Jay, because I'm curious.
That was going to be my next topic. Actually,
we can. Okay,
let me prep it with this question. I want to ask Jake here. Since you started your journey in multifamily, it started because I had a conversation with Tom. I reached out to you. I asked Tom, "Hey, what should someone do if they're fix and flipping?" I literally told you Jake's story, and I was like, "What should Jake do?" without saying his name. And you were like, "I'd consider going into multifamily and start investing into some of those units." Brought it to Jake. That started in May. We are now in October. So since that point, what kind of things have you learned both about the people in multifamily and the business of multifamily from that point?
But after this, before we go on the next topic, can we do like a little 10-question multifamily quiz? I'm gonna see how much Jake's been spending his time.
Absolutely. Oh shit!
Get ready.
Okay.
Here we go.
Because you said you wanted to go deep in the multifamily biz, so I'm gonna actually be ready for some math too.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. He gonna hit with cap rate.
Yep.
All right. So
the people and the business. What have you learned since being in the multifamily space?
Jake's
just
running numbers in his head right now.
I'm just gonna tell you exactly what I'll keep it the same. I said share shows clarity, because Tom was telling me, "Hey Jake, man, grind." You're like, "Jake, grind, man, you could do it." I'm like, "Man, what are you guys talking about? Please, you're confusing. You're hurting my head, right?"
Ouch.
Listen,
Worthy ouch.
I just want to eat cereal. That's all I want to out. This is like grown.
What kind
right?
though? Golden Grams?
I'll take whatever you
Cheerios?
got, man.
Fruit Loops?
Applejack, whatever you got.
Applejacks is good.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I've never had Apple Jacks.
Man,
come on, you're
all
missing out.
Top cereals, man. Applejacks is up there.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch is also good.
You
You
salty
can
quick,
mix
you
the
gotta eat it
two.
quick. You gotta eat it
Applejack Crunch.
Ooh.
That's when you got a
Dude, you
little
can
bit
eat
of both of
cereal.
them.
You can eat cereal any time of the day. You can eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and
I used
a
to
1 a.m.
come
snack.
home from like after like a long day in college, and like I would just like pour like half the thing in the thing and all the milk, and it was like that was my dinner. But anyways, so what did you learn about multifamily?
So I learned, man. I went to a conference about 2 weeks ago in Miami. I mean, in Florida.
And were
right?
these?
Tampa.
So was
Tampa.
this Tampa?
Tampa,
And these
yeah.
are nationwide investors.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What was the name? Who put it on?
It's by a guy named Gabe Bowling. I'm part of his community. Great guy.
Okay.
Ken G is a guy that was there. That's a shaker. I learned the importance of the importance of how much this is a business. Very different than you look at flipping or real estate sales. Everything is going to boil down to a business. I also learned the importance
When
of.
you say boil down to a business, what do you mean?
Meaning that people are not buying this because they like it.
No.
They're buying it based off
It's
of performance.
the performance.
I just had a conversation with you. I went to the Young Professionals networking event yesterday. Just had a conversation. It was retail real estate guy and multifamily guy, or not multifamily, just kind of in the commercial real estate space.
Side, yeah.
Real estate guy, retail real estate guy, he was like, I love people. I love when I get to see the smile on their faces. The other guy was like, I don't give a fuck. We're looking at numbers. I'm trying to get people to make some money.
Yes.
Totally different.
Yes.
It is.
And how deep of a dive You have to go into analyzing a deal, especially into 100 unit, 200 unit, 250 unit. I've also learned the benefits of going out of state and how much bigger your network's going to be as you continue to grow. Mm-hmm. I've also learned how difficult it is, the reason why people don't get in that market for many reasons, not being able to find a deal, but how difficult it is to be able to get the debt on something like that. Because you're buying it underperforming, right, and looking to add some value, whether it be a dog park, right, or whether it's like washers and dryers into the units to increase the value and stabilize it and get the occupancy up, right?
Yep.
I like Jake over here with a little value add dog park. He's smart though. Do you know the first thing is like how many people that rent apartments have pets? And if you're like in an urban area and there's no place for the pets, or if you don't have a pet policy, like you're basically almost half the people that would rent.
Yeah.
Are not going to rent there. So that's smart.
Wow.
Yeah, so anyways.
And those are small tweaks because
Small tweaks.
when you look at the business model and you look at being able to take deposits for the pets, right, that increases your revenue.
Your cash flow,
Your cash flow, right? Also, if you have
You
really
can get
nice
pet rent.
Pet rent, I was just going to say that it could be $25. But if you have 50 pets paying $25,
What's that equal in NOI? 50 times 25, go.
50 times 25, you use my calculator?
Come on, just try to do it.
50
Well, 40 times 25 is a pretty easier one because it's a quarter. So 4 times 25 is going to end with a 1 with some zeros.
$1 million.
It can't be $1 million. It's because it's 40.
Yes, you said the one. That's how I run with it.
40 times 25. It's 1,000.
That's 1,000.
So 50 times 25 is 1,250 a month. 1,250 times 12 is going to be about 15,000. And then depending on your cap rate, which is going to be like maybe like a multiple like 20, you just maybe added $300,000 of value to the property.
Grab your phone and point it to Ryan right now. Take a video.
How'd you
See that?
how'd you do that? Okay.
Bro,
He's over here. Hold up. After Tom just did that, I looked over to Ryan. We both made eye contact. He's over there cheesing because we're just thinking like, dude, this guy right now just dropped all those numbers, right?
Because that's how you make money in apartments. I could literally walk up to a deal and do the math in my head of what I can do to increase the value.
Yeah.
So I was looking at a property yesterday, and they're like, all right, the RUBS, billing back utilities. So the old owner didn't do it. And so now you have 120 units. And the average recapture in place was 40% of 280,000, right? So if you want to, I actually could run down this math too.
I'm ready.
Tom has the biggest. This
that's
is
about
that's
about 120,000, right? So then he's like, hey, I think you can actually get this up to like 80,000, right? So if you can just take that 120,000 and get that up to like 180, 190. So you're adding $40,000 of cash flow. Now, if you look at that and you're like, oh, we're investing $15 million, you're like, oh, it's not much yield on that money, but $40,000 a month times 12 is,
12.
$40,000 to your cap rate at a 5 cap, right, is a 20x on that return.
How are you doing that?
What do you mean? Because the cap rate is the inverse of a price earnings. So if you go buy a stock,
right,
the stock is all based on how much earnings they have, right? So if I make $1 of earnings and my stock is worth $100, your price earnings is 100x your earnings, right? So that would be like a growth company.
Yes.
Like a stable company, they might have earnings of $5 and their company's worth 100. So that's like a 20x. That's like the average of the S&P. And in real estate, it's the same. So $5 of net operating income is usually worth like $100 in value.
Okay.
So
you're taking the average.
I'm taking the average.
Okay.
So if you increase your NOI, you get this multiplier effect. That's how money is made in apartments. So if you go buy a 10-unit building and the rents are under $250, like below market, and you got to go spend X amount of dollars to fix it up, right? What you want to do is make sure that list, $250 times 12. Can you do it? It's 3,000.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's
Tom, you got to give him 2 seconds to try to respond to it.
This is question number one.
Here's this complicated long math equation. This is the number.
Trey, let me show you how the big bro little bro relationship works. Right? You take your licks right now, and then the next time he does it, you come ready.
But you got to be able to do this math in your head.
You got it.
But you know what's crazier? This dude, Ned Speaker, he's like the biggest owner of apartments out on the peninsula. Oh. He's like in his 70s. So I heard the way he doesn't even do all that. He just says, give me the age of the property, give me the unit mix, give me the location of it, and I want to know the average rent. And that's all the 4 questions. And he goes, I'll pay this for it. So he does all the other math in his head. Damn. So he's like levels beyond me. Like I'm like, I want to get to that. I want to be able to like calculate all that in my head.
Yeah.
Hold up. Let's let Jake write that down real quick.
It's funny because I'll show up. I'll be in rare form. I'll go out into a property tour and I'll have all these numbers in my head, and they're just like, "How the hell do you remember all this stuff?" And it's like I get Rain Man on them.
Yeah, that's sick, dude. But that you've been in the business for 20 years, and before that, even you were an accountant.
CPA, yeah.
You were a CPA. So you're
money math literally is my best skill. Like.
Well, yeah, I know. You know why? Because there was one time when we were walking over to Chase Bank and Juice and Java, and you started spitting stuff out. After about 2 words, I was like, I'm lost.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
Oh, that's right. Because I was talking about, I was like, oh, if my company is worth this, and then I have, that was that day, right?
It was more about, it was when something happened with the Korean stock market. Or
yes.
Something like that. And you started talking and doing it, and I was like, Tom, you lost me.
I was talking about if I took my company public into another country.
Yep.
And yeah, but
that
anyways.
but no, you've been doing it for a while. It's your skill set. Jake's got a little different skill set, which is still just as valuable, right?
But see, Jake
I'm gonna master that, though.
What Jake is gonna be good at is he's gonna use all the residential real estate skill that he had, which is which is a skill I wish I had, which is knowing which neighborhoods are about to change. Mm-hmm. Knowing if you put money into this neighborhood, you'll capture not only the underperforming rents of that certain property, but this market is maybe set to just grow on its own.
Yeah,
organic growth.
He's good at keeping his finger on the pulse.
Yes, keeping his finger on the pulse.
That's powerful, Jake.
The hardest thing to do is to figure out which streets and which little micro markets are going to be the fastest growing in the area.
You're almost like a forecaster.
You are.
Those people get paid. I mean, if you could have someone tell you exactly those numbers and tell you where things were going to blow up to make the most. Oh my God.
I use a lot of forecasting services but they're just basing it on whatever set of data they have. It never is going to replace like a person like Jake that has their finger on the pulse and just says, "Hey, I think this deal makes sense, but because this is going on there," and then it just comes down to, do the numbers make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So I got a couple questions.
I was going to say we have about 20 more minutes, so launch into your questions and we're going to keep them moving.
I'm ready.
Jake. Mm-hmm. All right. Question number 1.
Please.
Would you rather buy a brand new constructed 10-unit deal that was just finished, and it's half occupied, and it's going to stabilize at a 5.5 cap once you lease the rest of the units, for $500,000 a unit, so $5 million.
How many units is it?
10 units.
10 units.
All right, this is like an advanced question. Or would you buy a 10-unit property that for $4 million you could put $500,000 of renovation into it, and you could get it to a 6 cap, so you can get to $600,000.
And what's the other strategy? I'm selling it.
It depends on what's your strategy.
Mine's
do you want to buy and lease up? Do you want to fix and rehab?
Early on, my strategy with clarity is probably fix up and exit 3 or 5 years.
3 to 5 years. Okay.
Well, a brand new build, it seems like I'd be holding it, right?
But not if you lease up, because the interesting thing is you have way more buyers of a fully occupied brand new building because it's safer.
Correct.
So the thing that you will get on a new building is, if you got it to that 5.5 cap, you'll get what's called cap rate compression. So you're going to increase your multiple. So maybe you could sell that for 4.5. So that is the biggest money maker in multifamily is cap rate compression. If you can somehow increase the multiple that the same NOI is worth because you converted something from an unsafe half empty to a safe full. I learned this because I used to do value add, and then I figured, I was like, I just started buying buildings that were just like partially empty, or they had a bunch of concessions on them. And then once I did that, every single investor that's like an institutional investor, that's what they want to buy.
Something
Stabilized.
Yeah. And the only reason I asked even exit strategy, but I kind of could have known because you said it's a brand new
Still
deal.
sell.
Still sell.
And sell same 3 years.
Stabilize it. I All right, this might not be a question, but where's the building? Is there a different state that the building's in?
Well, there's a lot of, I mean, it's going to be hard to find a 10-unit building, but there's a lot of stuff being built, like 20, 30 units out there that are going to be half empty, sitting around in Oakland right now.
Well, in order to do that, I need to look at what I should be paying a door, right?
Paying a door.
So then if I take the sale price or the purchase price of $5 million, right?
Yep.
And I could do a few things. I could divide it by 10 to see what I'm paying per door.
Right. That's your 500,000.
Yeah, that's 500,000 per door. Then also I'm probably going to be looking at I'll probably be solving for my NOI.
Solving for your NOI, 100%.
Right.
Your stabilized NOI. So I gave you that number. It was 5.5% at $5 million.
Yeah, 5.5%. And then for the other building, it was
You can get it to a 6
get it to a 6
with 500K.
with 500K of investment. On you would get it to a 6 on your $4 million purchase price.
Okay, that's a $4 million purchase price, right? And I can get it to a 6.
You can get it to a 6.
So
you're paying less, but you're also multiplying. I'll let you figure it out.
right. I think I'm gonna go with the brand new building.
Okay. Yeah. Why?
Well,
Who knew? Raise your hand in real time if you knew that Tom was going to ask why after he asked that.
Yeah. Now you can get your calculator out because I should too. All right. We'll see if my math. Because I just made this question up on the spot, by the way. But I had kind of an idea because I looked at 2 deals yesterday, and that's where this kind of came into play.
How many deals do you look at a day on average?
I mean, it's kind of more on the week, but I would say that I'm analyzing, hopefully at least 15 to 20 a week.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's across like many geographies. 275. That's really, damn, that was good. That was really.
How we doing on batteries?
That's so funny. I did that and I did it right.
You did it right?
The math I made up in my head worked.
There you go.
Yeah.
When you've been doing it for a while, man, it's second nature. That's a cool ass second nature, though.
Well, it was I just wanted to make sure that the stabilized yield on the newer building was going to be higher.
Got you.
I went with the newer building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, why?
I said, why though?
He's like, I got you an answer.
You are the right answer.
Okay, mathematically or
Mathematically.
Mathematically.
Because it's the only thing that matters in this business.
Yeah, that's the only thing that matters.
Because at the end of the day, you're selling that building on that NOI.
Yeah. Because what I did is I just took the sale price and I divided it by the cap rate of 5.5.
Yep.
Right? And that got me 909.
That's your multiplier.
That's my multiplier.
No, so what you should do is if you just take you multiply the price, 5 million, times the cap rate.
I divide it.
You divide it,
divide
and
it.
that
Okay.
gives you your NOI.
Okay.
So 5 million times 5.5% is 275. That's your stabilized number. Now divide that by a 5. Take 275, and now you're at your exit cap.
Okay.
This is multifamily mastery 101. 275 divided by.
Is it?
No.
Do
Do this. 275.
275.
000 divided by 0.05. That's your exit cap.
Keep talking to the
5.5
mic
million.
now.
That's 5.5 million. So you just made $500,000 by investing into that new building and stabilizing it.
Wow.
Now go to the other one. Now take 4 million. Now take 4 million.
Oh.
And now and you're at a 6. Remember I told you got to a 6 times 0.06. That's your stabilized NOI on that value add deal, 2.4. Now divide that by 0.055. Divide that by that's your exit cap on that older deal.
4 million.
4.4 million.
So your profitability.
You didn't even make up your capex.
No.
Wow.
The 500,000 capex. So now you would know in order to generate that value, you had to spend. Even if you did spend only 200,000, you only made 140,000 for taking all that risk.
Can you read the mic a little closer?
Yeah. You see?
Got you.
So
you didn't make any money on that.
You didn't make any money on that deal.
Yeah.
Wow. So,
So you would have to
making no money versus 500K.
now take the 240 and divide it by 0.05. So let's say the market gets hot up for you. Now you made money. So I would posit that most people that make money in value add are more lucky
Then yes,
than
they're
good.
more lucky.
Wow.
Because the market has to go in your favor more than the value you can add.
And you hold it for such a period.
That your luck has to be phenomenal.
Yeah. And
If you buy the right property in the right location, you fix it up and you stabilize it and you get organic rent growth beyond that value add, then you can make a lot of money. But just the value add piece is, I think, almost impossible to actually execute and make money on. Well, for the risk.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back over mathematically. The other things I thought about too as well is some of the things.
Now, some people are going to argue that the capex $500,000 is probably a little high, but I mean the things that cost money today, like roofs on a 10-unit building, could be like 80, 90 grand, right? If you got to put new windows in, that's another 80, 90 grand. So now you're $200,000 into your rehab budget. You haven't even touched the interiors yet.
Yep.
To do an interior on these is like 25 grand these days. It's freaking expensive. That's $250. So my numbers are probably not that far off,
right?
and it's hard to add that value.
And
Sorry.
and also
We'll move on.
It's been hard. It's been hard to get things like insurance too.
Insurance costs have like tripled.
Yeah, and on older buildings it's even
harder because they're fire risk. They don't have sprinklers.
Now I was like, look, I'll go with the
New
the
buildings,
building
see?
for sure.
All right, we're gonna keep moving, but before we keep moving, I want to bring up something that, look, you guys may not be in multifamily, so that some of that stuff might have gone over your head, but there's always a lesson to be
promised Jake
learned
a lesson.
when you're listening to these people, right?
Appreciate it.
And
Yeah.
here's the thing.
I needed it.
I've watched Jake and Tom's relationship. I first met Tom and I was impressed by him, and I told Jake. Jake's one of my best buddies, so I went back to him and I was like, dude, just met this awesome guy. He's doing this and this. I think you could learn some stuff from him. Jake was like, when are you going to get me in, man? I was like, just give me a little bit. Let me cultivate the relationship. Let me
He
see
was
what's
jumping
up.
right in. See,
then-
you were ready to go.
Then I connected him. And since then, I think that Tom would agree. Jake's been extremely gracious and extremely, he's given Tom a lot of flowers, and they've been back and forth giving each other value. And Jake's played his cards very well. And he hasn't paid Tom $1 for mentorship. And what you just saw was a genuine interaction between someone that's done massive things in his business. Jake's done great things too, but Tom has reached another level in his business, and he just gave him free game that Jake would have to pay another mentor thousands of dollars for naturally on a podcast because Jake has played the relationship right.
He buys that bad deal.
Yeah.
That I guarantee you, what I just showed him will stick in his head every time he looks at one of these fix-up
So he
deals.
just saved him thousands, if not tens of thousands, hundreds
I'd
of
probably save
thousands,
hundreds of
millions
thousands
of
of
dollars through one interaction. That is the power of talking to the right people, being gracious, and playing your relationships right. And I think that that was a super powerful interaction. Whether the math went over your head or not, always be looking out and trying to learn things when you see these type of interactions. So I appreciate you for dropping that game.
Real Estate Finance Class 101 coming soon.
I like multifamily mastery 101, dude.
I don't know. Actually, I might be actually doing a little stuff at Haas, Berkeley MBA school
Interesting.
on the real estate finance side.
Okay.
I got a buddy that teaches private equity there, and he wants me to come in and do a class for the MBA.
One class?
Just like a little section of his class, because he teaches a whole semester.
Okay.
So,
Can I come with the
I was
camera?
gonna say, can we pull up?
it's probably gonna. Yeah, you guys can come.
Okay, cool. All right. Well,
Photographer
let's keep it rolling. I got a bunch of questions here, but we got 15 minutes, so I'm going to try to maximize the time for you guys, the audience. Let's see which one of these really hits. You know what? I'm going to hit on this one because we had a quick conversation before we started the podcast when the Giggle Bros were out. But this one was an
Giggle
interesting
Bros.
one. It's about getting uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
What's something that you guys do to make yourselves uncomfortable to continue your growth cycle? Because without discomfort, we cannot grow. If we're constantly just comfortable in where we're at in our lives and businesses. So what do you guys try to do to keep yourself on your toes and uncomfortable in your businesses to avoid complacency?
I mean, if you mind if I go? Because
Please.
I would just say I spend a lot of time talking to my peers and never thinking that I have all the answers, and always seeing, hey, that was a pretty cool, because in your business, like you see the same thing like you would see in your business. Oh, someone bought this house, they sold this house. In yours, you might see somebody doing some cool content, whatever, and the stuff that's resonating. And in my business, I might see someone buy and sell a deal or build something or roll out a new. So I asked them why, and then it's like, I'm not afraid to be like, well, we've been doing this for like 5-10 years. And we're all comfortable with this system. We're changing it. Here's why we're changing it, because the market's changing, right? You can't get complacent. And it's really that. It's just taking a look at your surroundings and say, have I stayed in the same place for too long?
That's powerful.
Right? Yeah. And if you have, then you probably need to change,
And that comes after you've reached a certain level of business. I don't think that a lot of people are just starting off the ground to probably hit that quite yet, like if they're starting a business from the jump. But as they continue and grow in their businesses, after they make a little bit of change, after they get comfortable in their systems, then it's like looking at, all right, what got me from 0 to 150K, 0 to 250K may not be the thing that gets me from 250K to $1 million. Maybe some things got to change.
Probably
Would
won't.
that be accurate?
Yeah, probably won't. I mean, to get to my goal, I have to change. I can't. There's no way I can do what I want to do from being how I started the company. It's impossible. So you gotta
embrace change when necessary.
Embrace change when necessary. Mm-hmm. But also I think taking the right amount of rest and taking the right amount of routine and stuff is also very important, because if you're always chaotic, then you actually can't really sit back and have the energy. So
100%.
What I've learned, it's actually funny. A friend of mine, she's kind of like a big social, and I've known her for like 20 years. And like, I just thought I was like, man, how do your battery is just always charged,
I think that about you, dude.
Right. But what you don't see is, and my friends that, are close to me will also notice this, like, bro, I have days I'm in my PJs. Like,
okay, thanks for that confirmation.
But I don't take them all the time.
Yeah.
But I do. Like, I guarantee you, like, I'll just be like, you know what? This day I'm doing absolutely nothing, and I will rest like no one's ever rested before.
It's like a bear in hibernation.
Yeah, I might have 500 steps, like, and I don't even know what I might do. I might just sit and just like look at my pool or something like that. But I do it.
The refrigerator, bedroom,
back. Yeah. And I just sleep. And it's like, I've been blessed that if I do that for a day or two, I'm usually recharged.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And I don't even need to do it all the time. But the story about my friend is, I thought she could just go, and then one time I ended up like going by my friend's house where she was married to, and it was like a Monday, and she was like, it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and she was just passed out, and I was like, so that's the secret. They're not always on.
You've been getting sleep, huh?
You've been getting sleep.
Okay. You've
been charged up.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
We all need sleep, but then it's like when you go, you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I try not to if I don't have the juice to go, time to take a rest.
And sometimes even coming back to discomfort and uncomfortable, sometimes that particular thing can be uncomfortable. Taking the rest, especially if you're a driver and you're someone whose brain is just like firing all the time. Sometimes that taking that step back and that rest is like, well, I got so much shit to do. We got this, and this, and it stresses them out. But because I felt that in my life before, and then you take that rest day, you go to the beach with the fam, you relax, you look at the waves, you dig your feet into the sand, and you feel the water, and you kind of just get recentered, right? And it feels uncomfortable at first, but then you maintain patience, you maintain your groundedness, and that can unlock some things.
Yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm. It's important. Like it. What about for you, Jake? So look, just to reiterate it, what do you do to keep yourself on your toes, uncomfortable, to continue your growth cycle in both business and life?
Man, I just I respect the craft, right? The process. And so even if somebody's like not in real estate investing or something like that, I just always like to try to watch people that are just doing it before me. And those typically are good people, if you pick the right ones, that'll be vulnerable. Because so much of my process has been easier by people telling me the truth about like fatherhood or relationships or I've never been through one, but divorce looks like this, or the road to leadership looks like this. I was told that the road to leadership can be a very lonely path. And I was also shared with some information on somebody that was kind of they were before me, but went through some very tough things and made it out. So like when I go through even tough things, I'm like, well, they did it, so I can make it, right? So for me, those are the things that keep me on my feet. Is just with my peers are one of them, but definitely just like spending time with people that are just a little further along, and not even in career.
Can you tell me a story about a time when you've been in a situation where you've had a conversation with someone that you know is probably way further than you, and you may have been a little bit uncomfortable going to that conversation, but it turned out to be either a positive or negative result?
Man,
Shit, I could probably tell a story about you.
I already know the one he's talking about.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
I have
Do you?
a good peer of mine, right? You talking about my peer?
Which one?
I have a peer that lives in Roseville. He live in Roseville?
Shit, I don't know.
For sure. We're talking about the same one. So I was early on when I was starting my school community and launching like the podcast. I have peers that I respect and I think respect me. And I brought one of my peers onto my podcast.
We're talking about the same one.
Yeah, he does wholesaling. Phenomenal guy. But I only know him personally, although we're in the same career or same field, right?
Yeah.
And I brought him on my podcast, and some of the things he was talking about with like wholesaling in particular, which I don't do, and how he systematized his business. And he's gone through, early on, he left college and took the road of entrepreneurship and business structure.
What is wholesaling in residential? Like, do we have like 1 minute just to explain? Because I actually...
Yeah, in short, wholesaling is a process in which you acquire property, right? And
But you don't fix it up. You just...
You typically don't, right? You go direct to sellers. That's what you're doing.
Okay.
Through postcards, through mailers, through different data that shows the probability of somebody, through trust, through things like that, right? You get this information, and you cold call and you offer cash offers. And what happens is you get it in contract, and at that point,
you sell it to someone else.
You sell that contract for profitability.
Got it.
So there's the risk is very.
You make a little bit less, but then you just move it quick.
Sometimes you make a hell of a lot.
Sometimes you make more.
Oh, really?
Sometimes you make more. Dude, I've heard some people that made like $100,000, $150,000 checks from freaking wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
The only money up front was the marketing.
Yeah, the marketing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, so this guy systematizes wholesaling.
Yeah,
Sorry, thank you for the clarification.
My guy Mitch, and he just been through his process, man. He had been through his process. And some of the things he was just explaining to me in his business, where he was at in his business, I had just begun my business.
Oh.
This form of it.
Yeah.
Not the hustle, more the entrepreneurial component of it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Nobody told me that this is a start. I did not know what a startup was. Only tech. I did not know this is a startup. This is a startup. And so many of this has very similar experiences. We're saying like, man, this is a lot, but I got to keep going.
Got to keep going.
I think the way to kind of bring that together is Mitch had really professionalized his business and gotten to a certain level.
Yep.
And he had people like in the office, and Jake's a kind of fly by the seat of his pants. Not fly. He's organized, but he's boom, 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 boom. Here. Delegation in the way of like subcontractors and such.
Yep.
But Mitch had people doing everything for him.
Yep.
So it was just a different level. And he dropped how much money he'd made that year, and that was like, oh shit.
That didn't do anything for me though.
Interesting.
That honestly it didn't. It was the system. Okay, I'll give you another example. I spent a lot of time with Trey, so I kind of see what Trey is going on. But about
you don't know nothing.
A couple weeks ago, I saw you walking down the. You had this document. I don't know. It's just a 2-page document. I think you were coming to Trey's office, and you were like flipping through it as you're walking down the stairs.
It was the script,
right?
Oh, the script. Oh, yeah.
And I know you. You know, my relationship with you, I would call it more personal, actually, right? Not professional, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I watched you. I saw you hopping down the stairs, and you was getting ready, and you were in professional mode.
Yep.
But whatever you had, you were so fucking serious about it.
Yeah, because I was filming a video for my corporate, and I wanted, and I knew that everyone that ever is going to work for me is going to see it.
Correct.
So I'm like, it got to be good, you know?
Better be good.
Better be good.
Well, imagine this. When I say you can watch people that are going before you or your peers or whatever they shall be, I had just got off the road. I was going to the bathroom. My energy naturally was like, what's up, man? What's going on?
Oh, yeah. And right? I was over there locked in.
Well, when you came down the stairs, I heard your steps were not playing. Then I saw this document not playing. And then I saw you looking at the document. And I'm like, hey, Tom, how you doing?
Yeah.
And so I just say that to say that just observing people around you that you know their results, you know how committed they are to their process. It was just a reminder to me that sometimes when you're in a lot of times in your business, that's the level of focus it probably would take to be successful.
You got to be.
I took focus away from that.
We're gonna end it off with one last question. I appreciate that insight, Jake, and I respect you for getting uncomfortable. In another phase where I feel like you've gotten a little bit uncomfortable is even in the buying back your time process. We just had a conversation about that, delegating more, taking a step back. But in doing that, it may not have worked out how you thought it would. But I guarantee that you've learned skills for the next time that you do it.
For sure.
Different outcome, right?
For sure.
I want to end it off with one question. I'll set it up. I sent Tom the document. I didn't get a response back, but it's all right. So I
You did send that to me, and I actually felt really bad that it was about like this plan of like running a startup, right? Or
exactly.
yeah.
So
So I did see it.
good. Hey, makes me feel a little bit better, 2% better. But basically, it was talking about the key components of starting a business, of starting a startup. And one of the sections in there was about people.
Okay.
And one of the lines that the guy dropped was, when you start a startup, have 2 to 3 founders because problems need to be solved quickly. You don't want there to be too much bickering. And the next portion was, when you hire people, you need to hire animals.
Okay.
You need to hire animals, people who take their work a little bit too seriously. You're going to get things done. I want to ask you guys, because we touched on the concept of animals before this, maybe in a different light, but I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on that statement and what your definition is of an animal.
I mean, that question to me. Go ahead, Jake, because I have to give it a little thought, because I might just say something that's off at first.
It's okay.
Yeah.
What's your definition of an animal?
You're talking about animal like in work?
Like a dog.
Well, I guess you could say it in that way, because funny when all the different animals, like people can get like attributed to, like a shark, a dog, all these different like kind of monikers, like throws,
A poodle.
a poodle, a different visualization, a cat. Where's Charlotte at? But I mean, I think for a certain business type that probably works. Like if you're starting a tech company or something like that you got to get a lot of stuff done. You need someone that's going to be grinding, whether it's sales or it's, doing the engineering work.
Code.
I think that's probably right. I mean, I think if you're starting a real estate business, I think you have to be that person.
So when you think of an animal in that context, you need to be that person. What does that mean to you?
I mean, I have to be the one that makes the stuff happen. As a principal in a real estate company, I mean, I think once you get big, then you can start hiring, higher profile, powered people that can like take things over. But you got to build your track record. You got to build your understanding, and it's a little bit more intimate because you're buying a building, right? And your track record comes down to your execution on a business plan on either building a building or a physical asset that already exists, right? You're not like creating a whole new technology, right? So it's like finding, uncovering value. And so it's like your thought process, your investment thesis, all that stuff is what is the most important thing when you're starting a real estate business, and then going out and executing it. And so if you hired someone else to do that for you, then that's their business, right? So I think that's how I would look at it if you're starting a real estate business, and that's what I know. Like, but if you're starting, a bar or restaurant, I mean, it's a whole different, things. I mean, do you need to be like an aggressive, like, type person? I think that's kind of maybe I don't agree with that statement as like being like the most important thing to start a business.
Interesting. I remember the first conversation we had, I asked you about how you started your real estate business, and I was like, how many hours were you working a day? And you were like, I didn't track it. I was just fucking working all the time. I was just taking calls. I was just doing the shit.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about it. Like, it was just, I remember my aunt, we were at like, it was like Thanksgiving, and like, she's like, you're always on your phone. I was like, I got to get this stuff done, that's what you do when you're young. I mean, it's just, and you got to get it going, but
It reminded me of a kind of saying that I heard on a podcast one time. And the guy said, if you want to buy things without looking at the price tag, you got to work without looking at the clock.
I like it.
Kind of reminded me of you in that context where
I always look at the price tag, though.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
I mean, that's that accountant in me. It's like, is that I still want a good deal on things that I buy.
Yeah.
But I mean, no. I mean, I'm interested in Jake's opinion on that, because he might have a different opinion than me, and I.
Well, I mean, I'm going to try to answer it. I think that I've talked about mentorship and leadership, and I think that I have some people that work alongside me and trying to be the best leader. Not always getting the results right, and maybe even sometimes you don't hire your sister, your brother. You learn those type of things, not always right. And I just think that so much of you can be a great leader, but you just always have to hire the right talent. And I think a dog means just the right talent for the right position. You got to be careful with nepotism. You have to be careful with not being careful. You have to be careful about not moving somebody out of a position when it needs to get done. Mm-hmm. And so much of a business, I don't think it has. I think in being a good leader is very important. But you can be a great leader and give the shirt off your back. They'll still want your shoe and won't do the job sometimes. Or you can have the right talent when you only thing you have, just let them show up and they're going to do their job.
Yeah, because I feel like if you're a real strong like founder and leader, you just want someone that's more dependable than you want someone to be like an animal that's, going, maybe you do want a cat.
Yeah.
Like maybe like you just want someone that's always there, just like doing their job, right? It's like you could depend on someone, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'll counter that, where I would actually say that is still an animal. Like I look at
it is, but that's why I said let me think, because when you first said you want to hire an animal, like because you were saying it in an aggressive way, so the first thing that popped in my head was like someone that's just going to go get after, it's like I'm going to make this money, but then I feel like I'm always going to be that person's always going to want more. They're always going to want to push. They're always going to hey, we got to get this, so then you're like bringing on more like a partnership level person where I'm like I'd rather have a partner I could trust and then hire someone we could depend on.
Yeah.
As we're kind of creating the business.
Agree. Yeah. I agree. But definitely having the right people in the right position.
Right people in the right position is key.
Yeah.
They could be the smartest person in the world, but if they're doing the wrong job for you, it's not going to work.
Yeah. But when I heard this statement, I leaned more towards the agreeance on it, because my thought was, when you're first starting a corporation, and this might be my ignorance in, starting a business that's huge, but my perspective is everybody that you bring on in the early stages sets the tone for everybody that you bring on in the later stages as well, because it's about
very
culture,
true.
right?
It's all about culture.
So when I think of, okay, the first people I'm going to hire, I want to set the standard of hard work, because I know that if I don't, then as we continue to hire people that are B players potentially, the standard of work will actually start to decrease to a certain extent. Because in the beginning, when you have the founders, they have all the buy-in, right? So they're working all the time. They're going. They care so much about the success. Then you hire the next person. They're not getting compensated the same, so they're not going to work as hard. Mm-hmm. So then the standard for work just objectively decreases to a certain extent. So if you aren't careful about hiring that dog, and I actually do categorize it as dependable, because I think about it, or I'll call it animal, I think about Caitlin as an animal. Because people talk to me and they're like, Trey, you look like you work hard. You're always busy. You're always doing shit. And I'm like,
Caitlin,
you guys,
that might have been her first.
You guys haven't met Caitlin before. Every time she walks in, how many times have you walked in and Caitlin isn't at her fucking computer working? Probably never. She always is.
She just puts her headphones on. I thought she doesn't want to listen to us.
That's what I used to think too. I used to think that too.
But no, it's because
she walks in, she goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And then it's like, I'm not listening to these idiots.
But she's grinding all the time, and she works.
She does almost
hard.
all the editing, right?
She does all of the editing.
Yeah.
Every single video she does, and she's a badass at it, and she gets millions of views a month with her content. And when I think of a dog, I think so many people think of it as the person that has the loud bark, the person that's going to go out there and do those things. No, I think I actually categorize it more as the person that's going to be dependable, get the work done, and get it done right, and care about the success of the corporation. Be someone that's a firecracker.
That's a different definition than what I first popped in my head,
and that's why I asked you guys the question.
But the hardworking, dependable person is of course key.
Yeah,
and the hardworking, dependable, bought-in person is even more important. Mm-hmm. My first real hire was, who's now my CFO, who is the hardest working and most dependable person that I've almost ever known. Like, she's amazing. So
I know who you're talking about. She's awesome.
Trey's so nice. He only gets coffee for me and her. And by the way, she appreciates that.
It's because the first time I brought you coffee, she said out loud, she was like, "Hey, where's mine?" I was like, "I've never." You got to know her.
That's just a joke. She's just funny like that, because she always, if we have a successful, real estate deal, she's always like, "Where's my million?" She's just joking,
She's awesome though. But no, I
sort of joking. I think she wants me to slide her an M every once in a while.
But no, I think that was actually my point in asking you guys, because everybody has different perspectives, right? Yeah. And when we're starting, you guys have both built successful businesses, and when we're starting our businesses, the person you want to hire isn't always the person with the loudest bark, with the loudest roar. Sometimes it's the person that fits the position that you need filled. because you may be the lion that jumps up on the rock and roars out loud. But who's going to go out there and hunt for you? The lioness actually does all the hunting in that relationship dynamic. So sometimes you need the lioness who's going to go out and do all the shit, do the hard work, and bring back
Lion
the food.
King. You lost me a little.
I know.
Lion King. All right. Panda.
Look, but
okay.
Well,
I got your point.
where's Simba?
Simba comes later. Simba comes later.
We're Timon and Pumbaa. That's what's going on.
I don't doubt that. We're
gonna go out frolicking.
That's why I call you guys the Giggle Bros.
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata.
That's our problem free.
Dude, you guys are funny. But anyway,
Philosophy.
going out there, starting a business, find the person that you work well with. These guys have great chemistry here, and that's why they're going to do some big things in the future. And I think that you guys are going to do some big things in the future as well if you find the right people, if you work hard, and if you continue to try to gain perspective. That's why I love having these guys on my podcast, because I'm a young entrepreneur trying to build something really massive, and I know the thing that I have is time and energy. The thing that I don't have is experience. I'm only 22 years old. These guys are a little older than me, and I'm able to lean on their experience because I've developed a relationship with them. So go out there, leverage your strengths, do your thing, build something great, and I'm excited to see your guys' journey. So thank you guys very much for jumping on the pod, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.